Anybody remember saying this? Huh? You don't? Okay. Okay, Juliana is nodding. All right, so when you were a kid, you may have done this or something similar.
I know you are, but what am I?
Okay? So what happens is that when we are in that sort of teenage, it's a middle schooly time, all right, we say things. Unfiltered, really terrible things, right, to each other. So one way, I won't say anything bad, I promise, is to deflect it, is to say, that's not true. And so one way that we did it when we were kids was to say, I know you are, but what am I? Rather than say, well, maybe you're right, and I should think about that. Okay? I'm going somewhere with this. So, when we're adults, rather than deflecting some sort of commentary that might be a little difficult to hear, something that someone says to us about us that might be a little difficult to look at, rather than deflecting it in this old way of saying, I know you are, but what am I have this idea that we could actually use that phrase, but convert it into a spiritual practice. I'm sure that many of you have heard that the world is your mirror. And we are here this morning to talk about that. We've been studying so faithfully. We have 1 week to go in our 10-week class on the roots of the science of mind and spirit. And we have been spending 3 weeks on Emma Curtis Hopkins. And last week we had 50 pages of reading to get ready for class. That doesn't include the writing and the workbook. So watch out for that one. But part of what she said was, do not slam the door, I'm using my own words here, in the face of one who brings you criticism. Do not turn away or point your finger at someone who brings you that kind of information. It is a gift, it is insight, it is something that is for you. Now, what we usually do is say, I know you are, but what am I? And see how fast we can get away, right? Call that person wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. So in this case, I'm saying that maybe the grown-up, spiritual, metaphysical application of the same phrase is this. I know you are. This is, I know that I think you are this. I know what I believe about you is that. I admit that much, right? That's the starting place. I know you are. And whatever it is, it might be somebody who has this capacity for a greater level of honesty much faster than you, right? Maybe I worked with a number of these people. We were business partners. I had a co-minister. She said, I have that foot and mouth disease. She would speak now and ask questions later, and cleaned up a lot of messes. And she wished to be more like me. I would take weeks and use all these flowery terms to get around to saying what I had in my mind. So we learned to meet in the middle. I learned how to be a little bit more assertive, and she learned how to just pause a moment before blurting things out. So anyway, so we have this idea, I know you are, but what am I? And the first part of this, to become our spiritual practice, to become our mature response to input from the outside, that even though it might sting, has a gift for us, is to be willing to look at it. And to be willing to listen to it. So no door slamming, no punching anybody in the nose, and guess what? Not even thinking, if you can. Barbara Waterhouse used to say that. Dirty, rotten, rack-and trudger. She found something with lots of syllables that she could say, in church on Sunday that wouldn't get anybody in trouble. When you have that feeling that you want to just punch somebody in the nose. Now, one thing I'm not suggesting is that we deny how we're feeling, because our feelings indicate where we are. They're so important. Do you know, as a kid, when I put my hand somewhere that's hot, that burns, I have a reaction to pull back. That's good. No, when somebody touches a place in me that is wounded, I have a reaction to pull back, and that is good. And what I do with it next determines whether I will just live my life in a constant state of protection and defense, limitedness, or I will find a way to be with that part of me that is wounded and talk to it and ask, what is it that this pain is trying to tell me? What is it that hurts when I'm exposed to that message or that idea? What is it? So we begin with, I know you are, and we say, okay, I know you are. This is how I see you or this situation right now. This is how I feel about you or this situation right now. And I just accept that. Say, okay. Then I say, but what am I? There's where the gift is. But what am I? There's some beautiful sayings around the world in different cultures. And some of them are these. In the Hindu tradition, namaste means the spirit in me recognizes and honors the spirit in you. There are people in the Christian tradition who use it in a similar way. We've done this in candlelight services in December. The Christ in me recognizes and honors the Christ in you. We might say the light in me recognizes and honors the light in you. My favorite is a Mayan saying that says, in Lakech, in Lakay, in Lakay, in Lakech. You are another myself. I am another yourself. Now that levels the playing field, doesn't it? All of my relations. You see? All around we have these sayings in different cultures that remind us that we are one. So I said, I know you are, and I'm pausing because I'm about to say, but what am I? And the first thing I recognize is we're brothers, we're sisters, we're kin, we're one, we're all in the same boat. So if I answer this question in a different way, but what am I? And I do it in a way that says, okay. I touched something that made me hurt as if I put my hand in a flame. I stumbled on something in my life that hurt as if I'd stubbed my toe, maybe even broken a bone. To the degree of that hurt is an indication of the opportunity, the magnitude of the opportunity for healing, for shift, for something new to happen. You ever heard the phrase, don't shoot the messenger? So when the person comes to the door of your life with information for you, can you not do that either? Right? So we say other things like, thank you, teacher. Rick taught me this phrase several years ago, how quickly can I get to thank you, God? That means if I'm willing and I have the courage and the humility, I can look at what is unfolding in my experience and I can mine it for information. I can mine it for good. I can look for the good and praise it. And I can find that in this somehow there's something that's for me. We don't get any of those gifts, any of those insights, and any of that other good stuff, the freedom, right? The healing, when we slam the door, shoot the messenger, etc. Right? Point the finger. So we take some time out to have a personal response, and then we say, okay, I know you are. I have this idea about you. You get too close to my personal space. You speak your mind without thinking, and I'm afraid of you. You're brash. You're too timid. It annoys me. Or whatever. I mean, I've even been called out for being too timid. I've been, this was a long time ago, but it was someone who really just reamed me for not having more self-confidence. That didn't work, by the way. You know, you should be more self-confident. Well, I just cried some more. So anyway, so there are all those responses that don't work. But the gift is in the but what am I part. That's when we're willing to look in the mirror and recognize that this person, this circumstance, not only has specific information which is for us. Not only that, but it points to a place in our lives where healing is ready to take place, very specifically. And the size of it will indicate sort of the urgency, the timeliness of it, right? So we have that. So we say, what am I? Because the truth is that this concept of looking in the mirror doesn't mean just going and being apart a while and looking in an actual mirror. It means looking at the reflections in life that are coming back to us by means of people and what they say and do, our experiences and our circumstances. Wow. And whatever it is, that is. Right? Okay, so it's raining. How about that? Yeah. Now, I will say this. I'm the daughter of an artist, and some of you can relate to this. You know when you go to a museum or a gallery and you stare at an artist's work and you say, I wonder what it means. We can get a little carried away with that too, can't we? The experience that the artist had in creating that thing is one thing. And the experience that we have staring at it is another. And we may recognize the energetic signature of the painting or the song or the what have you. It's beautiful when that happens. The bottom line, though, is that what it means is what it means for you in that moment. So, I'm delighted to see this many people here this morning because, we put out this notice that said, I know you are, but what am I? Did you say or hear that when you were a kid? You were just playing then, but believe it or not, the critic has valuable news. Learn to get the gifts from life's critics. People could have said, oh, I'm not going to go for that. Are you kidding? I'm staying home. Okay. So we have this. We have, I know you are, but what am I? With the first part of that, when we make it a spiritual practice, is to acknowledge what we've been thinking. What are the lenses that we're looking through? What is the belief system we're looking through? Is it cloudy? Is it a certain color that's not really rosy? Is it muddy? Is there something about it that could be clearer, or more vibrant, more a reflection of real life, wholeness? And then we have, but what am I? Could it be that this person or this situation has called my attention to an area in my life that is ready to be more? And I couldn't listen when it was a whisper. I couldn't listen when it was just a fleeting mention. I needed it to get my attention. I have had a few of those, and I know you have too. And when our attention is gotten, there's gold there. There's gold there. So the other phrase from childhood is this: stop, look, and listen. That's what many of us were taught as children when we started to go out and play, outside of our yards and in the street, crossing the street, going to school, whatever the case may be, moving around the neighborhood. Stop, look, and listen. So you think about that too. Okay, so something happened in my life, and I'm going to practice my new thing, which is I know you are, but what am I? Which means that I'm going to remember that it's all related. We're all connected. There's something in this for me, and I'm going to let it tell me what that is, and I'm going to be courageous and humble and willing, and I'm going to find out what it might be for me so that I can move on. And the way that I'm going to do that is to stop, to look, and to listen. The thing that happens when we do this is that we are essentially building a plane while we're flying it. We are literally changing our belief system, our roles in life, our roles in our relationships, our paradigms, our cultures, while we're still living. Some of us have the opportunity or create one to take some time apart to really do a big chunk of growing. Then we come back. Or life will hand us a scenario like that does the same thing, right? Okay? And the other thing that we can do is, if we consciously choose to stop, look, and listen, is that we can get the gift sooner. It's almost like the messenger is knocking on the door and won't stop till we answer, pick up the package and say, oh, right? So the sooner that we can, because we have agreed that we are willing, look at the gifts that life has to give us, the sooner we get them, the sooner the knocking stops. Because life is for us. We are all part of one thing. Spirit is for itself. Life is for itself. Love is for itself. Truth is for truth, and so on and so on. And so what that means is that until we get that part of ourself that has been dormant or less than fully expressive up online and part of our whole picture, we will have opportunities that will point our attention to it. Because the truth is we're whole. And that means that we are well. That means that we are holy. That means that we are awesome. That means that life is full of so much more good for us. So when those things come along, they point exactly to where that healing is ready to take place. It doesn't have to take a long time. And it can even be easy. It can even be quick. And it can even be fun. So how quickly can I get to thank you, God? Thank you, friend. Thank you, teacher. And when you say thank you, teacher, don't grit your teeth. Really mean it. Get to where you really mean it. It might take a couple days.
Yes.
But certainly not weeks and months and a whole lifetime wasted in resentment. All that will do is sour your stomach and harden your arteries and do damage to you while they're off living anyway. Okay. So basically, this is what we have. Where is it? I had Aggie read something about not going back to sleep. And I wanted to end with that. Because we have our tools now. We have our two sayings. We have, I know you are, but what am I? We're willing to interpret that in a new way that brings power and healing to everybody. Right? And we know that it is valuable to stop and to look and to listen because that's how to do it. That's how to get those gifts, and that's what we want. And we recognize that when we do that, we really do create a world that works for everyone. Because you imagine that instead of us all blaming one another, we were saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we were helping each other on our way, and we get there faster, and we're living wholly sooner. Okay. So this says not to go back to sleep. The temptation is to not listen. The temptation is to not look. The temptation is to not stop. I don't know about you, but I am really good at when the going gets tough, the tough just move faster, When I don't like what I'm hearing, I drown it out, and so on, And it's when I finally stop and look and listen that I get the gift. The storm passes, and I feel better. And it's definitely always true. So the bottom line is that we don't want to go back to sleep. We don't want to go back to living less than a whole life, a full life. And so I'm going to close with this, something I've shared before from Rumi. It goes like this. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't